So anyway, disadvantage in most situations. But
So you weren't on the debate team in high school.
no, but I was a master debater. I mean, laugh track that. Just do it. I know you don't want to do a big edit, but I think we should try one episode.
This story just popped in my head when I was walking Clem. Do you know who the Wiggles are?
Yeah, they're like Tinkly Winkly, but humans in Australia.
Yeah, they're like an Australian band, like children's band
entertainers. Yeah.
Did I ever tell you the time that I met them?
It sounds crazy, and I don't think so, but also sort of sounds familiar in like fun touring days. Maybe?
I mean, for asking you, I might as well have just said, "Let me tell you about the time I met them," even if I've told you.
Right, exactly. Very Sixth Sense of you.
I was on tour with my friend Josh Berwanger's band. One night, I believe we had just played somewhere in Boston or somewhere on the East Coast. We played the show, got in the car, van, drove out of town, stopped at a gas station. I think it's like 1:30 in the morning or something like that. Mm-hmm. We noticed that there's two buses with trailers parked, and we're like, oh, I wonder who that is. I wonder if we would know anybody who's coming through here.
What happens in a musician's brain when you see a tour bus? It's so funny.
Friends.
Yeah, exactly. It's immediately
comrades.
Yeah.
So we go in there, and Josh had I'm going to say his kid was probably like 6 or 7 at that time. Mm-hmm. So he was just like, holy shit, it's the Wiggles. And they were like, they weren't drunk. They were a little sauced up, and they were like buying hot dogs and chips and stuff inside.
Right.
So yeah, we just start talking with them, and like we end up talking to them for like half an hour. Just talking about touring and music and blah, blah, blah. And they're like, what's your itinerary? Like maybe we can meet up again soon, because we were like kind of like following each other.
Right.
And so it was like a few days later, they were playing in like Hartford, Connecticut or something like that. They're like, yeah, we'll get you guys seats, and then we'll hang out after the show. So 4 of us hadn't showered, probably hungover. We sit like 3rd row center at this wheel show, and everyone around us is like just staring. Like you can see like both sides. You just see parents like looking at you, and you're just like, oh my God.
Trying to protect their children.
Right. So the show is over, lights come on, and this woman comes up to us, and she's like, excuse me, do you guys have kids? And we're like, no. She's like, what are you doing here? Like pissed off at us, at our presence,
right,
alerted by our presence. Anyways, it was just really funny. And then so their tour manager comes out and grabs us, and we go back, and we had exchanged merch with them. So he's wearing an Only Children shirt. The singer, I forget his name. I'll do a voiceover right here.
Is it Blinky?
Anthony Field.
He comes out playing his acoustic guitar, singing the first song on the record, and like does a cover version just for us.
Of your own song.
Yeah, it was amazing.
That rules.
Yeah, it was really, really fun. But like one of the more uncomfortable like hour and a half of my life.
Right.
With just like every eye on us.
I mean, it's how you tell the story that makes it good.
How you told the story was by far the worst part of the story.
Come on, do a beautiful show. It's gonna be awesome. And some other musical stuff.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to yet another episode of It's Always Stockholm in Los Angeles. My name is Nate Harold.
And my name is Will Noon, brought to you by the Atlanta Rain.
Today, you couldn't see it, but he's holding up a mug that says that. Today, we are talking about Season 5, Episode 11 of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, Mac and Charlie Write a Movie. Written by Glenn Howerton and Rob McElhenney, directed by Randall Einhorn. Really wonderful opening scene. Charlie Day, as an actor, is really good at making Charlie Kelly seem like, the word that comes to mind is precocious.
Ooh, explain that.
Well, because the way that, I mean, he and Mac together in this scene they're both being like childish, but it just so reminds me of when I was like in elementary school and someone was telling you a story, and he's tapping Dennis on the shoulder, and it ends with,
because I'm the security guard instead.
Which is like grammatically crazy.
Right. I just wanted you to define the word because I'm dumb.
Oh, precocious. Isn't that like young, innocent?
Oh, certain naivete.
Naivete. There you go. Yeah. It's a really shitty story.
Yeah, well, if that's the case, then yeah, Charlie Kelly is a beautiful, wonderful, innocent child. I mean, and their story is amazing in a sense,
In the context of the show.
In the context of it being a terrible story, but also an awesome story.
Yeah.
Well, now that I think about it, if I were in that situation, it probably would have been an awesome story. Maybe it would have been if they explained it right. Like if they didn't set it up to be bad.
It's good enough that Dennis is writing a screenplay about it.
Right.
With some embellishments, of course, but...
The Shyamalan twist, or one of the several, is that Dennis isn't just like playing Candy Crush on his new phone.
Mm-hmm.
It turns out he's writing a script the whole time. And the script is based off of the terrible story that Charlie and Mac tell him at the beginning.
It's a horror movie about two men trapped in a garage stairwell who get hunted down by a psychotic homeless killer who turns out to be a security guard instead.
But yeah, the twist is that he brings it back and that's his screenplay. But what do you think he's actually typing? Because, as he said, that's all that happens. Like, how is he going to punch it up?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I was trying to figure out what
do you think he's doing like dialogue and like cues and like all the actual?
Yeah, I think
manuscript?
this episode was written by people who have to think about writing screenplays all the time.
Most things are, right?
Yeah, I'm just saying it's like there's like a meta element to it.
Right. They're pulling back that facade or whatever. It's a show about someone writing a show.
Frank's got some cool sausage delivery system set up with his shirt.
Yeah, he explains to Dennis that...
Why should I do that when I can let my shirt do the work? Watch. No touching.
It's pretty smart. And I just love the way that he phrases that. He wants to rub on the phone.
Why are you rubbing on the phone? Let me rub on it.
What are you doing?
To everyone's surprise, Dee is cast in an M. Night Shyamalan movie.
Featured actress.
Which leads to my personal favorite dialogue in the show when Charlie is describing The Sixth Sense.
You find out that the dude in that hairpiece the whole time, that's Bruce Willis, the whole movie.
Frank jumps in and says he wants to be an agent.
And she's not having it.
She's not having it, and she says...
You are abusive and you smell like more meat, and I want you to leave me alone because this is really important for me.
Which is such an interesting line.
Huh. I didn't catch that, but...
Not hot meat, not cold meat.
Not meat in general, but specifically warm
meat.
I mean, maybe she has the fifth sense.
And while this is all happening, Mac and Charlie are inspired to write a film on the spot about their trials and tribulations. They don't say what it's about at first.
They don't know what it's about.
Mac and Charlie are screenwriters. They just become screenwriters.
Since when are you guys writing a movie?
Since you walked in here and said you were in that movie. We're great storytellers.
In a world where most people smell smells, she can smell temperatures.
Before we get to the film, The Fifth Sense, let's just briefly touch on alliances.
Okay.
There's a good one, too, Mac and Charlie.
Big time.
Often great.
Yeah, you've got I guess this is like the dumbest duo.
Neither one of them had a father.
Well,
for at least parts of their lives.
Yeah. They're both like looking for that.
We have Dennis and Frank, which is very interesting.
Dennis is kind of absent for most of this episode, so...
Well, okay, I would really ask you to reconsider that, because the scene where they're talking to... Dennis and Frank are talking to Mac and Charlie in the trailer.
In the trailer? Oh, yeah. I mean, he pops out of it, and he gives them 30 seconds, and he really gives it to him.
Frank is Dennis's lapdog.
All right, first things first, you guys got to type some of this shit out and get organized, for Christ's sakes.
Get your shit together. Come on. I mean, that's ridiculous.
That's one of my favorite scenes of this episode also.
I mean, it's a big one, yeah.
And surprising to no one, Dee by herself.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about Dolph Lundgren?
Yeah. I have a lot of questions about Dolph.
Oh, I hope I can answer any of them.
First of all, why is his name Lundgren?
Because he's Swedish?
Is he Swedish?
Yeah.
Sick.
So what I'm getting at with Dolph is like he's a beefcake, right? No one's disputing that.
Sure.
You want to put him in a mesh tank top?
Makes sense.
As long as we don't cover up that body with a lab coat, bro.
Dude.
So yeah, the Mac is like, oh, a muscular scientist. That's interesting. Dolph Lundgren is a scientist.
Wait, in real life?
In real life, he has a master's in chemical engineering.
That's amazing.
He got a degree in the like Royal Institute in Stockholm in chemical engineering. And then he got his master's in Sydney, Australia, at some other college.
Right.
And while he was in Sydney, I guess he was doing like security details. So he ended up being a bodyguard for Grace Jones at one point.
Why does Grace Jones need a bodyguard?
Anyway, so they started a relationship.
Oh,
Also, I'm not looking at Wikipedia for this. I'm reciting it from memory after typing it.
after reading it off Wikipedia.
Well, of course. So they start a relationship. He gets a Rhodes Scholarship to go study at MIT in Boston, and Grace convinces him to drop that and move to live with her in New York City, where he becomes a bouncer at a famous like dance club called the Limelight from I guess like the 80s and 90s.
Oh, dude, yeah, Limelight's sick.
Yeah, and
Dude, I saw Rancid there.
yeah. Was it a church?
Yeah, it's
Right?
an old church.
It's an old church. Yeah.
Yeah. It's in the 90s and maybe probably 80s too. It was like rave vibes,
Right,
So
yeah,
it wasn't
exactly.
like normally concerts, but for some reason the promoter like needed to put Rancid at a show, I guess.
That's awesome. So then he was like pursuing acting. He was taking like acting classes, and he got a minor role in a James Bond movie. It was his first role, and then from then on,
Boom.
Masters of the Universe, Rocky.
So okay, quick question: we're talking about Ivan Dragoff, right?
The Rocky guy,
Character.
Drago. Rocky Four.
What a drag off.
Yeah, and he was in like a zillion movies. Have you ever seen Masters of the Universe?
I assume so,
It is a weird movie.
but I don't know.
It is really weird. Also, Dolph Lundgren is a 4th degree black belt in karate. He's Mac's dream come true.
He is a Renaissance man.
Yeah, right? Pretty amazing.
Do you think that they knew he was a scientist and that was part of the reason?
I think, yeah, okay. I think that was the joke.
But
It's extremely subtle.
that's the thing. It seems like it's like not worth the joke if it's a joke, like they could have been like, well, it's preposterous that someone with that body would be a scientist, but whatever. Like they could have like tweaked it a little bit and made it a real legit good joke, but
I mean, Mac does say a muscular scientist. Interesting,
Okay, yeah. Maybe I'm just
So that line makes me think that they knew.
yeah. I guess if I go back and watch it with this knowledge, it would probably present very differently.
So apparently there's a deleted scene on the DVD, which I do not own, so I could not see it, could not find it on the internet.
Yeah.
But there's apparently a deleted scene where the line before they get to Dolph Lundgren, they say, "Who's the most underrated actor?"
Right.
And the timing of that Dolph Lundgren thing is hilarious, which is perfect the way it is. I wouldn't change it.
Yeah.
No notes.
Who is the most underrated actor of all time?
It's Dolph Lundgren.
Correct.
But apparently Charlie said Angela Lansbury in a deleted scene, which would take the movie in a much different place.
Yeah. Also, that would probably be an amazing scene to film if they were like, okay, you're just going to pick random actors and actresses and Mac's going to react.
Yeah.
Or
yeah,
like
exactly.
not tell Mac
Yeah.
about it and be like, yo, Charlie, just like throw out some random ones. Also, that scene in general is possibly my favorite scene of the episode.
It's really good. Their enthusiasm is infectious.
Should we be writing this down? Let's get this down. All right, this is good. All right.
Okay.
Yeah, the moment when they both get so excited, that felt familiar.
Yeah,
it's
totally.
like when you're in the room and you're like, you realize you're on the same page with someone and you're like, oh, you have the same like spark at the same time, and it feels genuine, like they're connecting. I don't know if I'm getting ahead of it, but the moment when Charlie is like, I think Mac's about to say something or does say something, and he's like,
What if it's a man with a few dog-like qualities, like a heightened sense of smell?
Jesus
or
Christ, Charlie. We're
licking?
not-
Charlie says one of the skills he picks up from the dog thing would be licking.
Yeah, Charlie leans a little too hard into the dog part.
Mm-hmm.
Runs around on all fours, etc.
Right.
Mac has to rein him in. I'll just leave it there with Dolph Lundgren. He's a scientist. He's a 4th-degree black belt. He was in a relationship with Grace Jones. He was her bodyguard in Australia. Yada, yada, yada. What a story.
Is that where the movie The Bodyguard, is that what it's based off?
I don't think so. Do you know much about M. Night Shyamalan?
I know that he lives near my friend Brian Russell's parents' house.
Yeah, I read that he has a 27,000 square foot house and on 125 acres.
Whoa.
He films most of his movies in Philadelphia and Reading, Pennsylvania.
Ooh.
Have you seen many M. Night films?
I have seen The Village.
I haven't seen that.
Oh, I won't tell you what the twist is. I have seen The Sixth Sense.
Yep.
The twist there is, spoiler, the little child sees dead people.
And?
Bruce Willis is wearing a hairpiece.
Boom. Boom.
Faced.
Try to keep up.
In The Village. No, okay, what else have I seen? There was one where there's like a pool and there's like a monster in the pool, but I haven't seen that one.
Lady in the Water.
Lady in the Water. I assume the person in the pool has a big dick or something. Twist. Let's see, what else? What else did he do? What else have I seen?
Well, I liked Signs. I thought it was pretty good. That's
great,
with
great
Joaquin
song.
Phoenix, Mel Gibson.
I don't think I've
Alien
seen
Invasion. Yeah, it has a really spooky, like, amazing scene, camcorder footage of the alien, like, walking by this.
You love aliens in general.
Oh, of course. Of course. I'm a big aliens guy. M. Night Shyamalan was uncredited writer on She's All That.
Whoa. Sick.
He wrote Stuart Little. He was in talks to write Indiana Jones 4 with Steven Spielberg a while ago, but he didn't do it.
That would be sick. Think about the
Yeah, I
twist.
know.
What would the twist be?
Well, the twist in the one that they made was very stupid. He's a season ticket holder for the Sixers.
Makes sense. He's a very Philly pride kind of guy.
And I noticed that Charlie pronounced his name Shyamalan, which is like kind of how it's spelled.
Oh, okay.
And then I looked at like the phonetic thing on Wikipedia and it said Shyamalan. So I was like, well, what is it? So I found this YouTube channel, this guy named Julian Mikkel, who he just makes videos about how to pronounce names.
Whoa.
Like Louis Vuitton, M. Night Shyamalan.
So Charlie's wrong.
Charlie's wrong. Charlie's wrong, yeah.
Unsurprising. We should probably talk about Full Penetration.
Say this was a real mainstream movie being made. What would your take be?
Smells crime. Back to the lab. Full penetration. Crime. Penetration. Crime. Full penetration. Crime. Penetration.
My take on Dennis's direction for the movie?
If they made it in the style that Dennis is describing, would this be something you'd be interested in?
Here's the thing. It would never be a mainstream movie. It would be like X-rated.
You say that now.
NC-17.
50 years from now.
Well, okay. What was X-rated in the 1960s or something?
You're basically saying that it doesn't really appeal to you.
No. I'm saying I wouldn't have a problem with it. I just don't think you can make a mainstream movie. Well, okay. I don't know. I guess pornography is cool and movies are cool. And it's like, in theory, you could mix the two. But I also sometimes think that like maybe it wouldn't work. Maybe the two would be distracting, and like they would interact in a way that you like wouldn't want them.
Let's hypothesize here that you were a fan of something, which is not really the way it works. So your favorite actor, you love all of his films. He's going to be in this new movie, and it's like, oh my God, I'm so excited for this movie to come out. And then you learn that there's,
Full
10 full penetration sex scenes in it. Are you still excited to see it?
I think maybe for the spectacle.
Yeah, totally.
I don't think it would like ruin, like, I think there's a good chance that the acting wouldn't be good because it rarely is.
Yeah.
In graphic sex scenes. But yes, to your point, I think it would probably ruin the movie.
Yeah, I think
it would be
so
very
too.
difficult to pull it off.
It would appeal to some people. I am not one of those people.
Yeah, I don't know how you could do it. I just don't think. I don't think it could be done.
Yeah. I think you're right. Maybe in the future at some point.
I mean, in theory, I guess if you look at movies from like the 1960s and then you look at movies now, maybe the mainstream movie is like way more sexually, explicit.
Mm-hmm.
But also the 80s were pretty like loosey-goosey.
Yeah, I don't know. The thing that popped in my head was like how graphically violent movies are now compared to. I'm not saying it's a problem. Like, I watch violent movies all the time. But if you compare the technicality and execution of someone getting shot in the head in like a 1960s movie to like a Quentin Tarantino movie where it's like, that's...
Oh, yeah, no, totally. I
think that could happen.
Same thing with shock value and like music and like in the 60s, like, I don't know, the Beatles. Did everyone freak out when they had long hair?
Long hair, yeah.
It was like people lost their mind. Or like Elvis Presley like shaking his hips. Like what would happen if you took
Cardi B
and Megan Thee Stallion and dropped the wet ass pussy video
that song
and showed the people that were freaking out about Elvis, like their heads would explode. Yeah, so I think that's what you're saying is that 50 years from now we could have a mainstream movie where they're just fucking constantly and it's just like, oh, that was cool.
Yeah, it's just like desensitization.
Right.
Like you just get used to it.
Yeah. We're like addicts of everything. And we just need more and more to stimulate us.
Okay, yeah, you have any highlights?
The Charlie and Mac scene that we discussed.
Totally.
What if he can smell crime?
And then the penetration scene. Watching it for the first time had to have been so much different.
Yeah.
Like the concept of Frank's sausage delivery method is just out of nowhere and ridiculous. And just Dennis saying full penetration so many times.
Guys, we're going to show full penetration, and we're going to show a lot of it.
It's really interesting. It seems like season 5 is where we're really starting to see some of the characters develop.
Totally.
And I don't know if Dee or Charlie really have the depth or like the arc that Mac and Dennis do.
Definitely not.
Mac has the biggest arc. I mean,
right.
What a selfish dick. He's writing himself into this journey. Yeah. Whereas Dennis just gets more and more depraved and like evil and weird and fetishy. But we start to see that a little bit with the Dennis system, seeing him becoming not sociopathic. Yeah. Psychopathic, sociopathic, whichever it is. Mm-hmm. But we're also seeing Mac. At one point in the meeting in the trailer, he says, well, I hate women.
Yeah, I kind of hate women, though. Oh. I feel like they just slow action movies down, too.
Yeah, and I feel like that's not the first time he said that, like, explicitly. Maybe it is, maybe it's not, but...
Well, yeah, I think season 5, it's like we're starting to see that come out more and more. He's like...
When you hear it, it sounds natural coming from Mac.
Right.
Is what I'm saying, yeah.
Yeah, and I think Charlie might react to it a little bit, but he also... then like follows it up with they just in action movies they just slow things down, and it's like seems like an excuse, so it like fits. It's interesting to think of whether or not he knew where he was going with it, or if it just evolved and he followed the path as they went.
Yeah, it's like the MO of the series, which is like as sitcoms go on, people get better and look more attractive, and they're doing the opposite.
Right. But at this point, you could think he's just like becoming misogynistic and shitty. But then it's like at some point, and obviously he gets fatter because he thinks it's funny that you don't. But does he undo the joke when one season later he's like the most jacked, ripped dude on any sitcom?
Right.
Like, is that did you just prove your own point, kind of? And the fact that he's hating women and blah blah blah. It's like, oh, because he's gay. It's like. You sort of forgive him because he didn't hate women. He was just like really, really confused.
No, I think he's still a misogynist. I think you can be gay and be a misogynist.
Right. I guess you could confusingly be a misogynist.
Yes.
But he may actually be a misogynist.
Yeah.
I'm just curious whether or not they knew where they were going with it.
I think it's kind of like Lost. They were really just winging it.
Right.
With no like point A, point B.
Speaking of which, there's a 120-pound Mac, right?
Yeah, little twink Mac.
He's a guard, right?
Yeah, season 3. I mentioned it before, but I love Frank playing the agent, like that Danny DeVito is pulling from a well of knowledge about like how industry people work.
Right. He's probably had
And
many agents.
he's waiting until Dennis says something, and then he's like basically repeating it.
In terms of the story, clearly it's brilliant. It's amazing.
Great idea.
And I like it a lot.
Brilliant idea.
And the pause when Dennis ends his pitch, the very long pause of Dennis looking at them, and then the silence is broken by Frank saying,
That is brilliant. That is the most brilliant movie I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah, he's doing a great job as an agent.
and his philosophy with it of like,
Because that's where the money is. What do? You just put things together, you sit back, you collect 10%, and you let the client do all the work. Dennis doesn't give a shit, right?
Stop talking to me.
Which is funny because later on in the episode, he flips it.
yeah, that's the Shyamalan twist.
This episode really does him justice by throwing in a lot of twists.
I just want to point out that there's an amazing thing that I had to pause and rewind like 3 times to make sure I caught it right. When they're finishing the meeting and they're getting ready to leave, did you notice that Charlie and Frank have like a little one-on-one, like as Mac's collecting papers, and then Mac does the same
has
thing?
the one-on-one, yeah.
Charlie says, "Can you just rep me?"
Mm-hmm.
Saying like he wants Frank to be his agent, not Mac.
Right.
And then Mac
says, I write better alone?
Holy shit. It's so funny. I wish it was like more emphasis. Or maybe it's funnier because it's not.
I think that's the whole point.
Dude, it is so good.
Yeah, it's like Mac is distracted by all the papers everywhere, and Charlie like drops it, and then Charlie leaves first, so Mac gets the alone time.
That's was like such a good bit.
It's like written well, but also like directed well. The execution of it they have to have this specific distraction layout.
It's pretty believable. I feel like I can't specifically name the situation, but I feel like I've been in that before.
Yeah, yeah.
Where it's just like, you just call me. Just don't talk to him. Yeah. I thought that the like movie, I'm doing air quotes. The movie part was really funny and really well done. Particularly when the camera's going by and Dee does the brains thing, and then Dennis' phone starts ringing. Very well done. Reminded me of the first episode of the show Extras.
Bye, nerd. Oh, I'm a nerd? Yeah. I'm a nerd. I've kissed Cameron Diaz, Drew Barrymore. I slapped Jennifer Aniston's butt.
In films.
Still counts.
I don't know. Is that Ricky Gervais?
Yeah.
Yeah, I have such a love-hate relationship with him.
Oh, you can hate him. It's fine.
I had to unfollow him on Twitter.
Oh God, I did too. Jesus Christ.
It sucks because like I agree with him, but I hate him. I guess that's like the Bitcoin thing. It's like I agree with most of these people, but they're so annoying.
Oh, I wanted to quickly mention Lex Medlin as the AD in this movie.
Right.
Face down.
That's what I thought. All right, energy. But you're dead. Dead energy. Here we go.
One of the best lines of the episode.
Yeah, that guy is super familiar. He must be in like a million things.
Right. So I thought he was too, and I looked him up, and I think maybe what we're both thinking of is he was in a lot of commercials.
Oh, okay.
Which when I read that, I was like, I don't know what commercials they were, but that sounds right.
Right. We would have seen him just as many times as if he were like a famous actor. But since they were commercials, you know his face, but you don't know him.
Anything else?
No, it was a good episode. There's a lot of fun stuff, but
it was good. The ultimate. I mean, we get an ultimate Shyamalan twist at the end, where Frank becomes an extra,
and then the twist is that Dennis hasn't been just dicking around on his phone. He's writing a script based off Charlie and Mac's idea,
and
or
there's
their story.
And there's one more twist.
The big twist is that he's gonna let Dee be in the movie, or is he?
A lot of twists in this thing, so try and keep up.
Cool. So if you had to give this episode a letter grade, what would it be?
R.
Rated R.
I would have added more penetration, personally. But I'm going to give it an A+, minus.
Yeah, I feel you on that. I'm going to say B+.
Okay.
You can't follow the Dennis system. Like it doesn't matter what you do. It's like...
Yeah. I would have been okay with them being like, you know what, this season only has 10 episodes. Can't get better than that.
But it's It's good. There's some great stuff. The sausage thing is pretty iconic. The full penetration pitch.
Yeah, for some reason, I think a lot of this stuff for me, it feels like it was probably better the first time.
Definitely.
You know,
100%.
because of its like sort of the shock value of it, like the on repeat, it's like it's funny and it makes me smile.
Yeah.
But it doesn't like punch me in the stomach.
If only we could get the Men in Black zapper
Oh my God.
and watch this for the first time. I don't know if that's how it works though.
It definitely does. Oh, you mean it?
Do you have to like calibrate it for
how long? You would erase everything in the past 10 years?
Yeah. We need Doctor Strange. Dr. Strange, paging Doctor Strange. Please erase my memories. If you'd like to follow us on Instagram at always_Stockholm, on Twitter at always_Stockholm.
And as always, we are pathetically begging you to leave us a review or rate us on the app device of your choice.
I'll see you next time. Bye, Will.
Take care, be good to each other, and as always, worship the devil. I think my dad is kind of a weirdo perv, and... What?
Go on.
Brought to you by the Natty and New Network.